The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions.
The Impromptu Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Jeff and Dickon.
Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff. With me is my brother, Damien. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How's your weekend? We had a big show this weekend.
Oh, I think pay-per-view was the best part of my weekend, actually. Other than that, pretty uneventful. How was your...
Same, pretty much nothing all weekend and just watching some great wrestling. But let's talk about it. We're talking today about AEW Revolution. Happened Saturday night. What was the date? February 29th, 2020. It was a great show. Let's just jump right in and start talking about this show. Pre-show buy-in. We had SCU versus the Dark Order. What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. I think SCU and Dark Order always deliver like a really solid match, good tag team match. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't like any huge spots or anything sort of spectacular to write home about, but I mean, it was a really, really decent match, and I really enjoyed it. How about you?
I felt the same. Just a solid tag team match. The tags were being made. Everybody was really following the rules this time around. I know we talked last show about how things can get kind of chaotic, but one of the weirdest moments for me was this Colt Cabana run-in. Like, I was just confused about it. I get that he's a Chicago guy and whatnot, and they're in Chicago, but I don't know. I thought it was out of place. Thought it could an introduction into Colt Cabana could have been done a little differently. What did you think about the whole Colt Cabana dealio?
I thought that was my initial reaction too. It's just like, why? Doesn't really have anything to do with the participants, and then didn't really do that much in it as well. And then you're thinking, well, is this like when he was in one of the other pay-per-views where, he's just kind of here, gone tomorrow kind of thing? And yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought it was weird.
It was out of place.
He's a Chicago guy. He got a pop. I think he's friends with the guys. Like, he's friends with the boys, right? So maybe that's just what you do when you're in town. You invite your boys down.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was weird.
Yeah, and then he doesn't even really do much. He kind of takes out the minions on the ramp, gets into the ring, and then gets jumped, and his bit's kind of over. Just the whole thing was just weird. Then we have the Exalted One makes an appearance, or so we are led to believe.
Right.
Robed figure.
Which didn't pop as hard as I might have thought it would.
Yeah,
So maybe people weren't fooled by it. I mean, I don't think I was really fooled by it. I was just like, what's this?
Right. It just seemed
Ozzy Osbourne's walking to the
right.
Ozzy Osbourne's walking to the ring. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah, he definitely drew some inspiration from that. But robed figures coming down the ramp. He gets about halfway. The Dark Order's up there. They're doing their hand signal. The robe comes off. It's CD, here to save the day. Jumps in and gets one over on the Dark Order. Where do you see this Exalted One story going?
You know what? I don't think I'm going to rule out Christopher Daniels just yet. He's running to the ring. You don't really know who he's gonna jump or who he's gonna be a part of, and I don't know.
Right.
I don't know that this is over for him per se. There's a lot of other rumors about, you know, other people, but that's probably a conversation for another day.
For sure.
So, yeah, I maybe it probably wasn't the time to do it. So I'm glad they didn't do it, and let's save it for a little bit down the road. I like the Dark Order stuff. I'm quite shocked that it's in the buy, but knowing Cody and the boys and whatnot, I think that they got a plan, and when it's time, it will be time.
Right, for sure. I agree.
Where do you think it's going?
I think this was just, I don't know. To me, this ruins the whole Exalted One storyline in a way, or at least sets it back a bit. This kind of tease, but I genuinely don't think it's going to be Christopher Daniels in the long run. I feel like they'll bring in someone outside of AEW at the moment to become this. I think this is just a way to get the trust back in Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian. Get their trust back into CD, I mean. And I think SCU just keeps rolling on, going from town to town, telling them how shitty their town is. I think that's where we're going.
Yeah.
But we made some predictions on this match. We did this one a little bit later in our role in the last episode, and I was kind of sick of us all picking the same winners. So I went SCU on this one, but really I took the Dark Order. You get this one right with the Dark Order going over. What do you think? I get a half point there?
I think you deserve half point on that one for sure.
Right. All right. So keep tally 1 to 0.5, 1 to 1.5. Let's move on.
All right. The next match we had the Natural Dustin Rhodes versus Jake Hager. This was a one fall match, and Aubrey Edwards was the ref. So, what'd you think about this one?
This is a real low point on the show for me. I guess just being so excited about Revolution. It's been a few months since we've seen a pay-per-view. We were really, really, I don't know. I was really high on watching this pay-per-view, and they come out with this kind of a dud of a match. It should be noted that this is Jake Hager's first match in a while. You and me haven't seen him since WWE. He left there 2017. He's been doing some indie stuff in between his MMA fights. Most recently, he was doing Lucha Underground, where he was tagging with Sammy Guevara of all people, which blew my mind when I found that out.
Right, okay.
But I'm not sure what it was about this match. I can't really quite put my finger on what it was, but it was just down. It was just a downer for me. Came in so hot for it, and this kind of took me out of it. How about you?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought it was more Jake than Dustin, and Jake just seemed really slow. Just seemed like he lost wind real fast. The match got really slow, and then at the end it kind of got a little bit botchy. The whole Jake's wife thing was a bit forced.
Right.
Dustin kissing her was probably the highest point.
Yeah, it was kind of the high spot.
So that kind of wraps up what that match was about.
She did try to strike Dustin. I noticed in one of the replays at the end of the match, she went to go swing and he catches it, and then he goes in and really smears the makeup on her, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
You see her reapplying her makeup after that.
Well,
and I mean that's how bad the match was, because I noticed her doing her makeup.
She wasn't even watching the match. Yeah. I just wanted to point out you mentioned Jake blew up pretty quickly. He was out there, he was winded and stuff like that. He kind of reminded me about 30 seconds into a Lesnar match. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
He was very
The pigment
Lesnar,
of red wasn't quite there yet.
but the amount of
uh,
sweat
yeah.
coming off that guy's forehead was very Lesnar-like. I agree.
Yeah.
So getting into our predictions from our preview show, I had Dustin Rhodes with the Jeff Cobb run in. I was hoping they were going to bring Cobb back to try to repair some of the damage they did to him by bringing him in a little too early a couple weeks ago on Dynamite. You had Jake Hager. Jake Hager goes over. He puts Dustin to sleep. There's no tap. I think the finish worked for both guys. What'd you think of the finish?
I think it's the only way they could have done it, and it's the only thing that would have saved like an absolute kind of 0 stars for me on this one.
Right.
Was the so
Yeah, I was.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Let's just leave it at that. So you get an extra point there, guessing right, Jake Hager. 2.5. It looks like. Let's move on. Let's move on to one of the highest points of the card for me. Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara. One fall match. Paul Turner's the ref. We don't get a straight up one fall match though, do we?
No, I really feel like we get almost 2 matches in this one match. We get like this hardcore match, and then we get a kind of a bit of overtime or a second part to the match. The strategy for how that match played out was awesome. I like the hardcore stuff and how they did that, and then it was a bit short for me. I would have liked to seen them more, but yeah, like top-notch match.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, hindsight's kind of 2020 in this instance. You really could have cut Jake and Rhodes a bit shorter and had these guys beat each other for a little bit longer. But like I said in the intro, this was one of the high spots of the card for me. Like you said, the bell doesn't even ring at the beginning, which I didn't even notice. There's a spot where Sammy throws the skateboard at Darby, hits him right in the head. I'm wondering, like, what's happening here? Why isn't the ref calling a DQ? The commentators are kind of confused. I believe it was Excalibur that finally mentions the bell hasn't rung yet. This match hasn't started yet, and I'm like, oh, they're doing this. Okay, this is cool. All right, let's roll with it. And these guys rolled with it. They were hitting each other with chairs. There was tables brought out. Like, yeah, everything you said is just right on the money there. You got a 2-for-1, really, on this match.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the attempted suicide that Darby tries to pull on himself, trying this tope suicida.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that it didn't go. I don't really see it as a botch. In sports, things happen. There's some misses. It just looked rough. People kind of gasped. But I don't really see it as a botch. It looked deadly, and you expect that from a Darby match, right? Sure. It takes risks. Sometimes the risks don't pan out. I don't know. How did you react?
I cringed. I don't like. I understand what you're saying about, this happens in sports. You think of Stepan when he played for the Dallas Stars and he had the open net on Edmonton to seal the series, and the puck just bounces over his stick, and it happens. And this is one of those situations where his heel kind of caught the top rope. It made his feet bounce in between the two ropes, and He fell a little bit short. I'm pretty sure they made contact to their heads, which just, ugh. I don't like seeing that kind of stuff. I feel bad for those guys, but like you said, that's kind of Darby's thing. Put the body on the line, and he seemed to be all right. Leading up into the next big spot when Sammy brings the table out and heads up to the top rope. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, like I really wasn't sure what was going to happen here. And I thought maybe, sometimes they tease these spots and then the guy rolls off the table and then it doesn't happen. So I was really knowing what to expect. And then, yeah, Sammy does, one of his moves and you're just like, wow, they are going for it, and it was a really good spot, really well executed. Made me, my jaw hit the ground. I thought it was awesome.
Right. Yeah, me and my buddies were like, yeah, he's probably not going to do the 630 senton, right? Like, we're talking about the top rope to a table to the ground, not even in the ring. But he gets up there and he motions like, I'm effing crazy, and sure enough, he did it.
I must have missed that motion. I
don't
remember seeing.
He does this kind of to the camera,
okay.
and he did it, and he turned a little bit. I felt like in his rotation, he landed a little bit on his hip, which he usually lands that pretty clean. So I don't know if he was just a little bit nervous as he was jumping off, or if it was just the extra distance down to the table. But it was a big spot and it got the crowd going. From there we roll into the ring and Paul Turner finally rings the bell and we get a solid little, I don't know, I think, what is it, 3 to 5 minutes in the ring as an actual match.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah. And I think this match really puts Sammy on the radar, on the map for me. I really have a new respect for Sammy. So yeah, I think they did a really great job.
He's not just Jericho's, puppy dog anymore, right?
Right. Yeah.
Just one other thing I wanted to mention about this match before we get into the winners and our predictions and whatnot was the coffin drop finish. I'm really happy that Darby's been landing these, and this is kind of a true finisher for him now. If you remember back in the summer, he was missing all of these and taking these nasty bumps on his back, kind of unprotected, and I'm glad he's using this as a finish and just really shows off his athleticism on this one because he jumps 3/4 across the ring on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they can afford for this guy to be hurt because I think he's going to be big. So I think his whole persona is the skateboarder, daredevil, put the body on the line. But yeah, let's protect him a little bit because I think he's gonna be a big part of the future, especially in this coming year.
Right, and I think I've mentioned it before that there are rumors of a mid-card title coming to AEW, and I think this guy's set perfectly for as an inaugural run for a mid-card belt. I think it's going on one of these two guys, I believe. I really do.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
So we both picked Darby Allin on this one. Darby Allin gets the 1-2-3 after that insane coffin drop. Updated score should be 3 to 1.5, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Let's roll. Let's keep on rolling here. What did we have next?
All right, the next match we had the Young Bucks versus the champions, tag team champions, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. So this was one fall for the title. How did you call this one?
This was an amazing match. I can't say it any other way. This was the best match on the card for me. I feel like last week we spent 20 minutes talking about Pac versus Kenny Omega, and here we are a week later talking about Kenny Omega again, Hangman Adam Page, and the Young Bucks for the best in the game right now.
Yeah, it's really an all-star match, eh? Like you got like some of the biggest guys in the company going at it. So high expectations, and I think they delivered it, man. Like, yeah,
And
it was
then
a really
some.
good match.
And then some.
Yeah.
Just kind of going through this match from start to finish. I noticed, Kenny and Matt Jackson chain wrestling. Like, I don't want to say it's out of character for them, but I feel like this was a real, for all those people who think we're just spot monkeys doing high spots and doing flips, like, we can wrestle too.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up because it's actually the first that I have as well. And I guess everybody should know that, like, we don't watch these together where you live in different cities.
Right.
And, yeah, I don't know that the just, casual wrestling fan notices those kind of things. But yeah, like that was huge at the beginning. And you're probably right. They're probably proving a point for sure.
Well, we've been watching Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Adam Page and Cody for that matter, since he left WWE. It's been, well over 2 years now, maybe getting close to 3 since we started watching New Japan and paying attention to being the elite and stuff like that. And like, honestly, this is something I've never really seen. You look at the Omega Okada trilogy, were they doing a lot of arm drags, hammer locks into headlocks, working the hold? There wasn't a lot of that, and they wrestled for 60 minutes. Yeah. So I thought this was really good. You can never go wrong with a good wrestling match, and they put one on here for a few minutes. It was really good to see.
Yeah, I agree. And then they follow that up with really getting into the story.
Right.
And continuing the story of kind of what's been going on and bad blood, like just bad blood.
This
What do you think about all that?
This is one of the matches that really had a story behind it. If you compare it to the MJF Cody, really the only 2 stories they had going into this, at least long term, right? And
Right.
I think they did their very best to continue telling that story within the match and not having the match just be a payoff to that story. And just to cite some of the incidences that happen, you have right away Adam Page tagging in Kenny quite hard on the shoulder. Not even, I'm pretty sure Kenny had his hand out for the tag and he just gives him a nice hard smack on the shoulder just to remind us that, there's still some tension here between us.
And I love that look by Kenny when he's like looking at the crowd going, really? Really? Did that just happen? That was awesome.
Right. And, Kenny's been nothing but on Page's side. It's kind of all coming from Page's end, this hostility, this mistrust, I guess, if you wanted to say that. But moving on, Hangman gets back in the ring and spits a loogie right in Matt Jackson's face. Just continuing, like we said, the story of that. This isn't about buds anymore. This is our careers. AEW tag teams are on the line. I'm not shaking your hand.
Yeah. And that's usually a real heel move, the spit in the face. But I mean, the fans were still behind Adam the entire time. So
right.
I think they understood that it wasn't a heel type thing. It was you guys don't respect me, and I'm going to disrespect you, kind of.
And let's talk about this. Like, going into this match, there was the question, who's going to work the heel in this match? And it wasn't until that sit-down interview with JR last week on Dynamite that, the Young Bucks really embraced this opportunity to do something different with their personas. And I think it all stems down to that line, hey, you were just a jobber in ROH until we brought you to Japan and put you on YouTube and made you a star. Like, right there is the heel turn, the moment, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, are they full heel? Probably not, but the fans needed someone to cheer for and someone to not cheer for. I mean, in the end, I think they all got a good kind of standing ovation.
For sure, but when the Young Bucks are getting booed, this very easily could have been, like you mentioned, the All-Star match where we're just cheering for really good wrestling, but like you said, hands off to these four competitors for telling the story and actually getting the crowd to boo the arguably the best tag team in the world for a really long time, who's never been booed before, with maybe the exception early on in Japan, but like that's huge. That just shows the talent of these guys to get booed. Like, wow.
And that was only 1 week, right? Imagine if they actually had a program and were, yeah.
Well, maybe hopefully we'll get to see heel Young Bucks in the upcoming months. As we talked about the chain wrestling and just really good storytelling, we do get the classic Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Adam Page high spot match, and there was a lot of them. Any of them stand out to you?
You know what? I was so into this match that I didn't really take notes on spot. I was just really kind of enjoying it. I think the ending was pretty much the high spot for me. I think you probably have a few more.
Yeah.
You've
I just
noticed there.
Kenny doing Kenny things, the Tiger Driver 98s and whatnot. Really bringing pile drivers back into professional wrestling, which is nice to see. One thing I did want to mention was Hangman Adam Page at one point gets up to the top rope and does a moonsault to the outside. And, personally, this is one of those situations where I think just because you can doesn't mean you should type situations. What are your thoughts on Hangman doing a moonsault?
I guess it's like, I think he does it every match, if I remember correctly.
It's kind of
like
his
it's just
move,
something he does. Yeah, maybe it doesn't really suit his character. I don't know. I never really thought about it. It is, now that I'm thinking about it, it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird that he does do that because he's a big guy, right?
Right, and
I don't know. What were you thinking about it?
My reasoning behind, not that I'm against moonsaults, it's just Hangman's putting over this persona that he's the badass cowboy. I'm here to do cowboy shit. I'm here to be, respected, and you should respect me and whatnot. I see a future for Adam Page as a singles wrestler once this tag program's over. And when I think about it, all the greatest world champions of wrestling history, I don't think a single one of them had ever done a moonsault. You know what I mean? Like, you have your Kofi Kingstons and your Rey Mysterios who have had title runs, but that's just it. They had a title run. You know, they're not 3-time champs. They're not 4-time champs, 10-time champs, 12-time champs. I've never seen Triple H do a moonsault. I've never seen The Rock do a moonsault. Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan. You know, the list goes on.
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley, well, he just falls off stuff, but I just think it's one of those things where, you know, if you're gonna portray yourself as this star, this leading man, top guy, I think this is something that you need to not necessarily cut out, but cut back. Save it for the special moment to where, you know, now it's making an impact, you know. So
Right.
those are just
right.
my thoughts, my opinion on it. I just think it should be cut out of his repertoire for a while.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think big spots like that should be reserved for special times, right? Like, let's hope Sammy doesn't do a do the senton off the top rope onto a table every match, because then it loses its luck.
For sure.
Like, that's what you're kind of saying, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, other than that, you know, we went into all the standard, lots of great tandem offense was used in this match. We can talk about pretty much the last 5 minutes of this match as the ending. You know, we have, I forget the order, but, you know, we have the over the head belly to belly suplexes by Matt Jackson going up the ramp, which was an amazing feat. We have Kenny Omega going on a tear against both Young Bucks, you know, throwing knees everywhere, Snapdragon suplexes. Then we have the Young Bucks get a little bit of a comeback and pull out the Golden Trigger, which is a move that the Golden Lovers used to do in Japan. And then you have Kenny kicking out at 1.
Yeah.
That
was a big moment for me.
Right. Talk about it.
I feel like the false finish, you know, where the ref's hand is coming down and then, you know, it's so close and that doesn't get there. Like, it's done. I get why it's done. It's dramatic. But yeah, throw in a 1 count. Throw in somebody hulking up, because that's really what it was. And
Right.
if you rewatch that and see how the fans react to it, like, it is different than the traditional false finish on the 3. So I thought that was just awesome. It made me excited.
Right.
I'm like, it made me think that, it's coming back, because I really thought Young Bucks were going to win. So for me, it was just like, they're coming back. Wow. Okay. I'm a believer again.
Yeah, I agree with you on the 1 counts. It almost took the crowd, set them back a bit, because, you know, they were ready to do the 1, 2, because, you know, you kind of felt like that's where it was going. But yeah, Kenny takes that away from them and just gets that shoulder up really quick. One of the last spots that I want to talk about from this match was Hangman doing the one-winged angel. Was kind of a big deal.
And he did it awesome, which was, I'm always kind of hesitant when wrestlers do other people's moves, because they don't always execute them very well. For probably the right reasons, they don't practice them, right?
Right.
But he did it super awesome.
He almost jumped a little bit. You know, he really,
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I felt like he kind of did a little
He did it
hopping.
better?
He did it better sometimes, yeah. Well, you know, we don't if we could just talk really quickly about the one-winged angel, this is the most protected move in wrestling. Nobody has ever kicked out of the one-winged angel. And technically that's still true because Nick Jackson does interrupt the count on this one. But Kenny does a good job of saving these moves. He teases it a lot because it is so protected. And I think that's just a subtlety that we don't get to see very often in wrestling anymore, especially in the vanilla brand. Everybody's kicking out of everybody's move. I feel like we can blame The Rock and Austin for this, in some of their classic matches of, you didn't need one stunner, you didn't need two stunner, it took three stunners. Well, ever since then, finishers haven't really been finishers. So I'm really glad to see that the one-winged angel is as protected as it is. But
why do you feel like Hangman did it? What do you think their reasoning was behind that?
I'm not sure. I feel like it was just more of that tension in between him and Kenny, and kind of you know what, I'm gonna do this move and win us this match because I can kind of attitude. I thought when I saw it happen and then the count's interrupted, I'm thinking now Kenny's gonna pull out the buckshot lariat, and they just do this nice role reversal, but we didn't get to quite see that. But I think it was just I don't need you.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
As we get right into the finish, Hangman Adam Page gets, he's doing a buckshot lariat to the outside, a buckshot lariat to the inside. He really took over the last few minutes of this match, and like he said, he's building himself up as the next big thing in AEW. Omega and Hangman retain. We get I get an extra point on you there. You had the Young Bucks on that one. Really quickly, let's talk about what happened after the match.
Yeah, so they really teased that was he gonna go with the Elite? Was he gonna be like part of that? He's kind of thinking about it, and then ended up walking out. I'm trying to remember how the crowd reacted to that. I think there was kind of
Kenny was trying to reel him in, like, come on. And the Young Bucks even the Young Bucks were, and they're out there holding their hands out, like, dude, like, come on, we're a family here. Give us a hug. No hard feelings. You won. You got to keep the belts. Just come here. And he thought about it in the crowd. I feel like the crowd is really urging him. Because the Elite is as over as anybody can be right now. So I think they wanted him to go, but he decided not to. The Young Bucks roll out of the ring. Kenny's left alone in the ring, and he's holding up his belt. And we get a little bit of a tease of, just, I hate to say it, but solidify the fact that there is tension between the champions.
Yeah, I agree. Walking out, I mean, it's not new. He's been doing that. Feel like maybe the fans almost expected something a little bit different. But then he doesn't walk away like he usually, right? He kind of stops. So then you're wondering, what's this all about? And then where did it go from there?
Right. And Kenny turns around and sees it. He sees it. His hands were on the ropes. The belt was on the ground. It's not like he was just standing there. So he kind of, takes a step back, and they end up embracing, and they walk each other up the ramp. And as for now, all is good with the AEW Tag Team Champions.
Yeah.
All right.
The Elite's okay.
Everything's fine.
It's fine.
Right. Good callback. All right, let's move on. Next, we had the AEW Women's World Championship match between the the galaxy's greatest alien, Chris Statlander, and the native beast, Nyla Rose, and like this match just absolutely took me out of the card. I didn't even take notes on it. I have one note, which was the finish, and I don't know. What were your thoughts?
Well, everybody who's been listening to this knows my feelings about K-Stat. She's my
Right.
girl. She's
Tremendous
won me
athlete.
over. I was totally pumped because I'm also I'm starting to figure out Nyla. I'm starting to like her character, especially after those promos last week.
Right.
So I thought, all right, someone that can finally match her size. We're gonna get some hard hitting, and it's gonna be just kind of a brutal match, especially with the first title offense.
Right.
And the big statements where she's saying, I'm going to be a one-time champ. And I think it was maybe 2 minutes in, and they're running the ropes, and it just looks awful. And I just kind of put my head down and, yeah, this is not going to be a good match. And it really didn't. Sad for me to say, but yeah, it was pretty botchy. There was moves that just were not executed, whether it was like not planned well enough or I don't know. What was your take on why it was so bad?
Well, I mean, if we go back to the last podcast, I mentioned that I thought this was too soon for these two to be locking up right from the start. I really feel like the women's belt did not need to be defended on this card. Nyla just won it 2 weeks ago on Dynamite. It did not need to be defended. You have that spot where Nyla does the really good promo on the ramp. Statlander comes out to say she wants to challenge, which is perfectly fine. But then you have the Swole also comes out. So I felt like this match should have been a number one contenders match between Statlander and Swole. You get to build this match over the next couple months or however long they wanted to do it. You can do the run-ins and the pull aparts and all the classic wrestling archetypes. That's probably the wrong word, but tropes. The classic wrestling tropes, and build this match. Let them get their hands on each other a couple times. Let them build some chemistry, because I'm sure this was the first time they ever touched, because it sure damn looked like it. And, I think this match comes off a lot better. But I agree. They just did not gel together. They could not get anything right.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Maybe if they would have done something for, whenever the next pay-per-view is going to be, or even wait till like a Dynamite, but like a month down the road. So they're doing some in-ring stuff. It's not a match, but it's something to get used to one another. You're right. It probably would have been better.
A
it
very
was a
classic,
stinker.
a very classic wrestling move to get people to know each other without ruining the payoff is throw them in tag matches. It's very simple.
Oh, yeah.
They get to lock up. It's not for the belt. We don't get to ruin anything, and they get to essentially practice. As much as that's probably not a word that we should be using in the world of wrestling. But, I was just disappointed.
To give them some credit. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Go ahead.
To give them some credit, I thought the second half of this match, it was getting better. And I was like, okay, maybe it was just a rough start. They're not used to one another, and it got better. But then the end was kind of botched. So that went away quite quickly.
Right.
But I did think it was getting better. So I think you're right. If they would have had,
there were moments that things were clicking. I agree.
Yeah.
We both had Nyla Rose win in this match. I think we both agreed that you don't come out and say you're going to be a one-time champ and then lose on your first title defense. again, just it was too soon for this match for me, but we both get that one right. I've totally lost track of the score, but I'm pretty sure you're up half a point on me.
I'm keeping track. It's 4 to 3.5.
Okay, perfect. Let's say we move on to the next match, another high spot in the card.
Yeah, so the next match was one of, I think it was really anticipated by the AEW fans, and that was MJF versus Cody. So this is the end of the story they've been building up with the stipulations and the whipping with the belt and the cage match, and now we're getting the redemption by. What'd you think of this?
I completely agree with everything you just said there. This was probably one of the better told stories, in all of wrestling, really. You could argue that the MJF turn happened a little early, but that's for another day. This match I was really excited about, which I think hurt it for me. I feel like they didn't quite live up to everything that I was hoping it was going to be. But again, it was a really solid match. I had it up there, 3.5, 4 stars, just for me personally. These two guys can work. They understand wrestling. You can tell with how they move and the timing that they use. It was a great match from bell to bell.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I thought it was a little bit tough for me to get into it at the beginning with the MGF kind of going into the crowd a little bit and kind of trying to get the heat, which I don't think he really, because he is the biggest heel in the company, and then you have Cody, who's the largest face in the company. So I didn't think that needed to be a part of it. They should have just went with the, Cody trying to get back at MJF and MJF not really wanting this match. So him, getting the upper hand and then it coming back to Cody and then, MJF kind of targeting his injury and that, it got better. But the beginning was really tough for me to get in.
Right. Yeah, just touching on that heat, MJF trying to get heat. He's out in the crowd knocking people's hats off, throwing drinks in their faces. It's just cheap heat that he didn't need. I agree. He was already being booed. There was no need to start, attacking fans, essentially. But yeah, once the match did start and the match was flowing, I thought they did a really good job of, the MJF really getting one over on Cody. Cody starting to build a comeback and then getting cut down again. It felt like everybody got their spot in. Wardlow had a spot, Brandy got a spot, Arn got a spot. MJF gets busted open. It wasn't Cody this time. That was a shocker for me. If there was a prop bet for how fast into the match Cody was going to show color, I would have lost a bundle because I probably would have said the over under 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in Vegas lost a lot of money on that.
For sure, but it worked. It worked on MJF. The contrast between the blood and that horrible spray tan that he was rocking, it really showed up really well. But
right. What did you think about Cody getting the belt shots in and the ref kind of turning his back to it all?
Right. I thought that was just a really well done part of the match. It's a little bit earlier in the match when MJF gets a hold of the belt. And the ref's right there to stop him. It's Paul Turner again. Shout out to Paul. And he gets like, hey, you can't do that. And MJF's like, what the hell, man? And then, it was at that moment that I felt like I was like, oh, Cody's going to get a couple in because of that. And sure enough, Cody gets a hold of the belt. He gets one snuck in. He sneaks one in. Paul Turner hears it. He turns around. They do the actions, and Cody just goes, "Come on." Okay. And he turned his back and he gave him another one. It was really well done.
I thought they did a really good job of getting that audio in so you could hear Cody, because he literally says, "Come on, man. He hit me 10 times. Can you just give me one?"
Right.
He's like, "Yeah, all right."
Okay.
Because I don't think it makes sense unless you hear that.
Right. Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So, yeah, really good job on that.
Yeah, it just looks like the EVP's putting one on the refs. Like, hey, like if you don't hear that audio, it would almost look like Cody would be saying, "I'm the boss here. I tell you what's," and then that doesn't work for the character. So yeah, good on them for getting up close and letting us hear that exchange. And shout out for Paul. Like he played it up. He did a good job. Again, just getting into the finish of this match is probably one of the best spots of the match. The diamond ring makes another appearance, even if I barely saw it, but
I didn't see it either.
I have no idea where he got the ring, if he had it in his trunks the whole time, or if Wardlow slips it to him. If it was a slip, Wardlow must have been getting lessons from all the babes that used to hang out with Ric Flair and handed him the brass knucks, because it was smooth. Very, very smooth. It's slipped on. The punch happens. It's off. It's in the trunks to hide it from the ref. He goes back to acting a little loopy and gets the pin. And I feel like the crowd was really shocked at this finish. I really think that they were thinking Cody was going to get one back on MJF. What did you think of the finish?
I thought it happened a little bit fast myself as well, but then it took me a bit. It actually took me to hear it was either Excalibur or Jim Ross who said the ring, because I didn't see it either. So I was like, what's going on here? Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I think the crowd was a little taken aback by it and thought it was a bit sudden, because everybody's cheering for, like, they're really behind them.
When you think back to Sean Spears' little program they did, Cody got that one back right away, and we've barely heard from Sean Spears since. He's been working programs on Dark, but I just think that Cody. They thought Cody was going to continue this, revenge streak that he's kind of been on, but he ends up extending his pay-per-view losing streak if you go back to Full Gear. So,
yeah.
But it was a good match.
I wonder if Cody not being able to go for the world championship, if this is really a thing. And he never does it, and I get why he would to not have it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the whatever it's called, this
dynamite diamond ring.
Yeah, maybe this is a way that he can get like a title. So maybe that's where this will lead to.
Right.
We need to research more about this dynamite diamond. I think I remember them saying that it's like this will change hands once a year. It will be fought for once a year. MGF
really?
Gets this for 1 year, so I don't know when he won it, but
it was sometime.
Yeah, I don't think this is over. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
I don't think this feud is over either. I think they keep rolling with this, and we'll get more out of it. I'm glad you brought up the Cody's situation with the World Championship and the ring, he was the one who basically, for his reign anyways, as ROH World Champion, that he brought in this big giant ring, and he walked around calling it the Ring of Honor, and he was the one to hold it. And yeah, I could see that this could be a thing.
Brilliant. That's just brilliant.
That was brilliant. That was one of the greatest things Cody's ever done, besides creating AEW, like that ring.
Yeah,
the Ring of Honor,
and actually making the Stardust gimmick
get over it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody's a genius. He is his father in all aspects of it. So we both had MJF coming out of that match. I think we just felt it coming, but we both get a point on that one. Let's move on to one of the most surprising matches of the night. Orange Cassidy versus the Bastard Pac in a one-fall match. This, I don't want to say that I was shocked it was as good as it was, because I am an Orange Cassidy fan. I know what he can do. And yeah, this was just a really good match. And I feel like it surprised a lot of people, but it didn't surprise me. I knew it was going to be good. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. Very entertaining, as I would expect with Orange Cassidy and Pac. It was well executed. I thought they had the right amount of Orange Cassidy stuff and the right amount of Pac stuff. I think where they left off with the story at Dynamite, where it's like, is Orange Cassidy going to try?
Right.
I thought that was perfect, because otherwise we really know how this match is going to go. But I think for me, and probably a lot of the fans that were there, it's like, are we going to see a different type of match? Like, is he actually going to, I'm not going to say wrestle, because he does wrestle, but like, are we going to see something different? And I think we did see a bit of it. Like, he's definitely teasing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think he. When we first saw Orange Cassidy at Double or Nothing in the Battle Royale, the Battle Royale. I've been playing too much video games. In the Battle Royal.
I knew what you meant.
Right. And, he does his spot, and he puts his hands in his pockets, and he does the shin kicks, and the crowd's playing it up. Oh. And that pissed a lot of people off for whatever reason. It's just entertainment, guys. Did it make you laugh? Did it make you smile? Then it did its job, kind of thing. But when we first saw him, I was so intrigued. I was like, I got to see more of this guy. So I got on YouTube and I watched a bunch of his matches from the independents. And, this guy is so athletic. He understands wrestling a lot more than I think a lot of wrestlers do. And it just shows how over he is. And, and this match was kind of a coming out party for him. He really showcased his athleticism, and just the fact that you're doing flips and somersaults and jumping out of the ring and whatnot with your hands in your pockets. Like, I'd like to see the best wrestlers in the world try this. I'd like to see Kenny Omega do a tope suicida with his hands in his pockets. Seth Rollins, guys like this that everybody remembers.
John Cena do it in his jorts.
Oh, I don't even think Cena can fit through the ropes. His chest is so big, but
I don't even think he can get his hands in his jorts. This is tight.
His arms are a little short too, but
Yeah.
no, I thought this was an amazing match. It perfectly displayed Orange Cassidy's stuff, like you said. It had Pac looking strong, just absolutely beating the living piss out of Orange Cassidy. Cassidy gets his comebacks and like I said, shows off his athleticism. It was perfect for both. I was surprised at the placement on the card for it, but when I thought about it afterwards, it makes perfect sense where it was, because if any of the other matches had gone long, you could totally squash this match, have Pac just come out there and beat the piss out of him for 2.5 minutes, and no one would have been angry at that. They would have understood it.
I agree. I think because he's the sloth, no one really expects him to win. Right? I think that's what his character is. He's just I'm out there. You know what I
Right.
mean? So yeah, I think you're right. If they needed to squash it, it would still make sense in the match. I'm glad they had the time though. And I
Right.
really hope that these non-believers of Orange Cassidy really change their mind, because I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but this was his first singles match.
Right.
It's really the first time we've saw him in AEW.
He's
So unless you've been on YouTube, you might not get what he's about.
right. Yeah. He had a couple of 6-man tags where he teamed up with the Best Friends, but didn't even get a lot of spots in. He's more of like we saw last week, rolling into the ring and doing a spot with whoever else is out there with the other tag team. He never really gets involved too much. You're right. So it was really good to see. You mentioned nobody really had him winning this match, which was fine, and neither did we. We both had Pac. Pac gets the win. This just did good business for everybody involved. Let's quickly talk about what happened after the match, though.
You're talking about the Lucha Brothers?
Yeah, the
running in. I guess that wasn't after the match. That was kind of at the end, right? It was during.
I guess it was a distraction type thing.
It's kind of like Colt Cabana. It was just weird. And I get that there's maybe been a little bit of a feud between Best Friends and them, but it had nothing to do with Pac or Orange Cassidy. It didn't have anything to do with the end result of it. They just kind of came out, hit them a little bit, and then they were gone. So yeah, I don't know. Why do you feel like they made that choice to stick him out there?
I really
Is it
can't
going to
give
lead
you.
to something?
I couldn't really answer that. Like, I feel like it was just, for me, I really think it was just, let's get the Lucha Brothers on camera, because people will be mad if they weren't. Because, the Lucha Brothers are over, even if they are a heel tag team. But I really think it was
But
just
it would make
to get
sense
them...
if they weren't. Right? Because if we're going by the ranking, they're out of the top 5 now.
Right.
So I would expect to not see that.
For sure. And so, hopefully this leads into a really good program with the Best Friends. I truly believe we're just going to get a makeup match on Dynamite this week coming up. I think it's just going to be a one-off, and they won't touch again for a while. But hopefully it leads on to a long program. Like you said, Lucha Brothers are out of the top 5 right now. The Best Friends are in. I feel like if they go on a feud, it only hurts both teams more. I think we need to start seeing the Best Friends take on Dark Order and SCU and work their way up to the Young Bucks and eventually the tag championships. I think that's the way we go. But again,
Yeah, I agree.
it was out of place. I really do think it was out of place. Let's get into the main event of the evening.
All right. So in the main event, which we fully expected to be the main event, was John Moxley, the man who gives, how did they put it? Zero F's given is how
Yeah, 0 F's
he
given.
paraphrased it. Okay. Which was odd. I feel like that was not executed quite properly, just like I didn't execute it properly.
For sure.
Versus the Painmaker, Le Champion, Chris
Oh.
Jericho.
Thanks for saying it right. That's beautiful.
Well, I mean, we are Canadian and in a French-speaking country, so
Right.
we have a duty to say it properly.
We at least got our grade 6 in French, right? So
That's right.
yeah.
Now this was for the AEW Championship. I think it was what everybody was looking for in this pay-per-view was this match. So tell us your thoughts.
I just noticed before we get into this, Paul Turner is refereeing another match tonight. He did 3 or 4 of these matches.
You know
Putting to
what?
work.
I've looked on, I think it's AEW Wikipedia, and he's the senior referee.
Right.
So it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Unless I got that wrong.
No,
Is it not
did-
Aubrey?
No, it was definitely Paul
That's
Turner.
weird.
It
That's
was
weird,
Paul-
eh?
Yeah, usually Aubrey does do the Jericho matches. It's kind of felt like the inner circle's personal ref at times, but
Right.
maybe they noticed it was starting to go that way and they wanted to kind of nip that in the butt. So, but
Right.
I enjoyed it. I mean, Paul Turner was a big part of this match at points and did a good job. But anyways, let's get into it. Interesting entrances for both competitors getting into this match.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I missed it.
There's both competitors had interesting entrances.
Oh yeah. So Moxley starts from outside of the arena, which I'm like thinking, whoa, one, this is different. And two, like, is he doing a Goldberg entrance? Like, are we gonna see him walk through the entire arena before he gets to the ring?
Right.
It didn't turn out that way though. It looks like they kind of have a direct way from the sort of where everybody comes into the arena right into the actual
Right.
place. So I thought that was cool that it was different. You want pay-per-view to be something different, so I really like that.
For sure.
What did you think of Jericho's entrance?
We didn't mention it, but Downstate doing Cody's live entrance. I hate when they do live entrances. It always sounds like garbage, and Cody's got one of the best theme songs in the game. So when I saw the choir was coming out, I'm like, oh no, are we doing this again? Is Fozzy coming out and finishing it off? Or like, I didn't quite know what they were doing. I thought it was cool though. I thought it was the the crowd singing along with the song, taken to the next level. Let's have this professional choir come out and sing this song, and I think it worked. And eventually the recorded version comes on, and Le Champion comes out and struts his way down to the ring. I thought it was great. Again, crowd into it, singing along. It was the best entrance of the night for me.
Yeah, and not to spend a lot of time on it, but I agree with you. Cody's entrance, trash. And I think it was the singer. I don't know who he is or whatever. It just did not sound good enough. I think if the singing was on, like the band was on, it's just the singing wasn't there, and it ruined.
I don't know if that's a different singer from when it was recorded or what, or he was just having an off night. But yeah, it was bad. It was bad. But Jericho's entrance was top notch. I really liked it.
I was a little bit I was wondering, like, is he coming out? And he's not coming out. And I'm like, Jesus, are they gonna sing the whole song? And he's not like coming out.
Four
But
and
I
a
thought
half
it was
minutes
cool.
acapella. Fozzy.
Yeah, yeah, that's Undertaker-esque right there.
Right. Getting into the match itself, this was, in all accounts, the perfect championship match. They beat each other. They went through the crowd. They kind of gave us all kind of aspects of a wrestling match. It was good on Paul Turner for not, calling it early. Yeah, I'm sure it was. They went out in the crowd and there was no ring counts or anything. They're throwing each other into garbage cans and going through the crowd and whatnot. I feel like if a championship match had ended that way, everybody would have been pretty pissed. But all in all, this match was just the perfect championship match for me. I enjoyed every second of it. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It was Jericho doing his Jericho thing. It was Moxley doing his Moxley things. Chris grabbing the camera and, giving Moxley the Jericho, like through and through. Moxley did his role, did his thing. I like the outside stuff. It was a really great way to I'm thinking this is the end of the feud, so I'm gonna call it like that. It was a great way to end.
Right. Oh, you know what I'm seeing here now? We have some notes that Aubrey throws out the inner circle. Maybe it was Aubrey that whole time. You have Paul Turner as the referee at the top, but did he take a bump and get knocked out?
I don't remember.
Fact check for next episode. Anyways, we have a Hager run in. Proud and Powerful did a good job of kind of staying out of this one. They were out there as cheerleaders, really. But we get the Hager run in. The referee throws out the inner circle, which leads to a distraction to where Sammy comes in and gets the belt shot on Moxley. I thought this whole sequence was done well.
Yeah, and I think what does it is calm. Again, I can't remember if it's Excalibur or Jim Ross. They really did a good job of saying, okay, now Jericho's all by himself and, Moxley has him where he wants him kind of thing. And right there, I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, but Sammy's not there. And then sure enough, Sammy comes in with the belt shot. So yeah, I thought that sequence was really, really well done. And it was the comms that really did it, because if you're really paying attention, you kind of know where it's leading. And then when it happens, at least for someone like me, I'm just like, yeah, I called it. I
Right,
that
for
was
sure.
going to happen.
For sure. And then we get into the big finish on this match, which is, not to toot my own horn here, but the one thing I called at the beginning of the pay-per-view, I got out to my buddy's house and they were asking, he's like, how's this championship match going to end? What are they going to do? And I'm like, this is what's going to happen. Moxley's going to finally start getting one over on Jericho, and he's going to pull that eye patch off. And I've been able to see this whole time. And it's going to be this big reveal. And they're like, oh, yeah, I never thought of that. And then if it wasn't fucking frame for frame, just, and he does his John Moxley type stuff to the camera and everybody pops. And he goes into the finish, and yeah, it was such a good through and through good match, well executed spots, and I don't know what else to
Well,
say.
kudos to you. Kudos to you for calling it that early. I guess I'll toot my own horn in that I called it as well, but it was during the match. So about
Right.
halfway, I felt like that's where it was leading to, with him being busted open and whatnot. And I thought the reveal was really awesome because the blood seemed to be dripping behind his patch.
Right.
And then when he lifts it off, you can see the blood falling. Like, I want to see that in slow motion because that was so cool.
Right. It
Yeah,
almost
really good
left.
ending.
It almost left a ring of blood around where the patch was, where it was resting. It was just a great visual all together, and we both had Moxley winning this one for different reasons. I should mention, if you hadn't listened to the episode before, you're picking John Moxley because you're a mark for John Moxley, I guess, but I simply picked Moxley for the fact that I knew Fozzy was going on tour soon, and I really didn't want to see the title change as a wrestling fan, not just because I'm a Chris Jericho fan, but just because I thought it was still too soon. I really wanted to see Jericho hold on to this belt for a while, but I had unfortunately heard that Fozzy was going on tour. And I had to pick Moxley on this one, but we both got that one right. What was the final score for the card?
7 to 6.5.
Out of what, 8? We had 8 matches. That's pretty good.
I only started counting at I was at 3 to 1.5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches. 7 to 6.5. It really should have just been 7-7. That's amazing. We did pretty good on this one. We had one little tease in the middle, a couple times in the middle of the card. Why don't you tell us about what's happening on March 25th?
Yeah, so a couple times during the show, they, in between matches, they were promoting AEW Dynamite on March 25th is going to be themed as Blood and Guts, where they're going to have 2 rings and 1 big cage that covers them. And I get this feeling like it's going to be kind of war game-ish, but
Right.
They're not revealing what that is actually about. So, yeah, kind of exciting looking towards that. Not a pay-per-view, although they're kind of making it seem like that.
Yeah, I was confused when I first...
What's your take on it?
I was really confused when I first saw it. I was like, oh, we got the new pay-per-view. I really honestly thought the next pay-per-view was going to be Double or Nothing. But, you see this little vignette, Blood and Guts, and I was like, oh yeah, here we go. New pay-per-view. We're going to get one in between Double or Nothing, which would be fine. But, yeah, 2 rings, 1 big cage, immediately thinking War Games, which makes sense to me in the sense that Dusty Rhodes is the one who invented the War Games match. Obviously can't call it War Games because WWE is using that name right now. It seems like Cody's going after everything WCW that WWE is maybe not using. Maybe those trademarks has filed. Not saying Blood and Guts is one of those. This is a brand new name as far as I know. But, we had Bash at the Beach, which, brings me to the point of, naming these one-off Dynamites. I don't know if this is their way around because they said they weren't going to have a lot of pay-per-views throughout the year. They weren't going to have the 1-a-month pay-per-views like the Vanilla brand. So maybe they name these Dynamites as specials. Bash at the Beach, Blood and Guts. I don't know what else they'll go after. Halloween Havoc might be up for grabs. Stuff like that. I don't really agree with it. I think if you're gonna brand something, it should be something special, a little bit more special than just a Dynamite here and there. But yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure how they're gonna handle this. If they're gonna go straight up traditional, 5v5, 4v4, however they want to do it. But it'll be interesting to see, especially if they're gonna build this cage similar to the one they had a couple weeks ago in Atlanta, because that could be massive. We could see some massive spots going into that.
Right. I don't actually mind the themed Dynamites.
Okay.
As long as maybe they're not doing the same ones every year. Like if we're seeing a Blood and Guts every year, then I think you're right. It's like you're faking a pay-per-view that isn't a pay-per-view. But yeah, I don't mind the having the theme to it. Especially the bash at the beach with the girls on the chairs. Like I'm all for that kind of stuff.
That wasn't hurting nobody, except for maybe them.
No,
they were probably bored.
But I agree. If they're gonna do a Blood and Guts, at the end of March every year, then
just make it a pay-per-view.
Just have pay-per-views then maybe. I don't
know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. As we just wind up here, overall impressions of the show. Maybe give the show a star rating. What did you think?
The show had some downs, but I think the ups made up for it. So
for sure.
It's still a really good show in my mind. If I had to give it a rating, maybe 3 to 3.5.
I agree.
Yeah, it varies with the match. It depends which one I'm thinking about. Because if I'm thinking Young Bucks,
right,
and Kenny and Adam, I'm thinking, like that was 4. Like it was an epic, like almost hour-long match. But then, I think of K-Stat, and it's just like, man, not so much.
Yeah,
How about you?
I think the low points of the match, the Rhodes Hager match and the women's championship match, they were so low that it really brought the average down. But the 3 really high spots being Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, the Young Bucks versus Hangman and Omega, and the championship match are really what brought the bell curve back up. And 3.75 probably for me, 3.5. It's tough to compare when we don't get to watch these pay-per-views as close to each other as we may like, when you compare it to a Full Gear or an All Out, which were 4.5 star pay-per-views. But it was a solid pay-per-view. It did its job. And looking forward to building some new stories, or continuing on stories leading into Blood and Guts and Double or Nothing in May. So really exciting stuff coming from AEW. We're going to be covering every Dynamite from now on until Double or Nothing every Wednesday. We usually record Thursdays, episode out on Fridays. If you haven't already, drop us a like. Think about subscribing. Leave us comments below what your thoughts on the matches were. We're up for communicating with the listeners, and we want to hear your opinions too, for sure. And if you're on Twitter, think about giving us a follow on Twitter. I am Impromptu Jeff. Damien is Impromptu Damien. We should pop up right away, and let's communicate. Let's build a community on AEW. I'm really excited about what we're doing here, and hopefully you guys are too.
For sure. I think one of the things is we agree a lot on what wrestling is about, and
We're
you
very
our
similar
likes
that
and
way.
dislikes. So yeah, comment, and if you don't like something we have to say, then let's talk about it,
For sure.
because that's really what we want this to be about.
Yeah, we want to talk and about AEW, and we want those opposing opinions because, like you said, we are very similar to each other. So,
Yeah.
drop us some comments and let's have a conversation.
But that's it for us on the Revolution review show. And we'll see you again in a few days covering, what will be the date?
March 4th edition of AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights. Thanks for listening, you guys. Don't forget to like, think about subscribing, drop us those comments, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.
Peace.